Hi, my name is Heather Grant from the Modern Quilt Guild. Today we're going to review a tutorial on how to make bias tape for our Bias Tape Applique Challenge sponsored by Panasonic. The things you'll need for this challenge are a pair of scissors, some fabric, some bias tape makers, a ruler, a rotary blade, and an iron. So I decided I wanted to make some bias tape that is 1 inch wide. So I'm going to take a look at my number 25mm bias tape maker, and I wrote down in permanent marker that I need to cut the fabric to start at 2 1/8 inches, and that finishes down to 1 inch. So I always write down the cut size of the fabric I need for the size bias tape maker I have, as well as its finish sized. So that way if I ever lose a piece of paper, I still have it handy dandy and I don't have to look for it on the internet. So for cutting fabric, I need a ruler, a rotary cutter, a cutting mat, and my fabric. So the first thing you want to do is make sure it's pressed and lay it out on your table. Now I'm going to show you an interesting technique for putting these pieces together. So we're not going to worry about our ends, we're just going to worry about the width of the fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start by lining up on a 45-degree angle the edge of my fabric. And I'm just going to start cutting. So I'm going to cut here, and I'm going to make sure I'm at 2 1/8. And continue to cut. Now one trick, when it starts to get too long, is to fold the fabric over itself. That way, you can always make sure that it's perfect and you have very long strips. So I've got all my fabric pieces cut, and now I'm going to go to my sewing machine and sew them together. For this part, you'll need a ruler and a pencil. So I'm going to show you a really quick trick to piece a large number of these pieces that's really simple. What you're going to do is you're going to drop your needle down and you're going to put your ruler right up against there. And you want to line your ruler to something square on your machine. So usually what I do it on is like one of these little lines right here. And you put your foot down. And then you're going to take a pencil and you're going to draw directly. You can put a piece of tape here, or you can just, I usually just draw directly on my table and draw a line there. Now, because I have a drop-in table here, this can sometimes move, and so you want to redraw it each time you do this. So as you can see here, my line is all ready to go. And it doesn't matter what kind of foot you have. You can really use any foot. I like to use something that has good visibility, and you'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to lay my first piece out and my second piece on top. Now because this is directional and a line, I want to make sure I have everything kind of going the same way. So I just kind of lay it on top like that, and then I fold it over like this. So then what you're going to have here is a 90-degree angle. And if it's a little off, it's not the end of the world, it will still work. You just want to kind of ballpark it with your eyes that it's 90 degrees. And you're going to turn it so that your needle is going to hit here. And the bottom part here is going to line up with your line. So I'm going to put this down, put my needle down. And as you sew, you want to make sure that this line stays in between this little divot here. So I'm going to start sewing. And see how I'm keeping that line right there? It's right in between those 2 points. And keep going. There we go. And I just chain piece these. So then I lay that same piece out, and you can see this is the same piece. And I lay another piece of fabric on top. And again, I keep my ends pointed to the inside of the machine. And I'll lift my foot up and put it right there. And so you can see I'm not aligned here with the line. Right here is not aligned with the line. So I'm going to make sure that I get it lined right in there and just piece it. So I've sewed all my pieces together. And now I need to press them. So we have this big chain piece thing, and you can just take a pair of scissors and snip those apart. You could take your rotary blade and snip these, but I think it's just as easy to do with scissors, so that's what I do. So I'm going to snip all of these. So I snipped all my fabric, and now the fun begins. First I'll start by pressing my seams. You can press them open or to the side. So I've got it all pressed. Now I'm going to break out my bias tape maker. As you can see, it's got this handy dandy handle on the back, and this is what we're going to use to pull it through. Now you remember we kind of left our edges a little rough, so we've got this nice end that is pointed on one side, and this is great for starting to feed your bias tape maker. Now this is a time where having an awl might actually be a good thing. It's not required, but as you can see, it helps me thread the bias tape through, and then you start to pull it. And you get it nice and aligned. I've got it all fed through my bias tape maker. I'm going to flip it over and hold, and I'm going to turn around because I'm right-handed. And I'm going to get ready to start pulling this through. Now I get my iron, and I just move the bias tape maker and my iron at the same time. Now usually in the beginning it's a little wonky, but as you get through your bias tape and get a smooth rhythm going, you make some great bias tape. I'm Heather Grant, and thank you for watching this tutorial on how to make bias tape for the Panasonic Bias Tape Applique Challenge for QuiltCon 2015.